MJ Rodriguez stars as Blanca, mother of the House of Evangelista on FX's Pose. I'm Kevin Jacobsen of Gold Derby, here with MJ. And to start, I wanted to ask just how much you knew about the season before going into it, about where Blanca was going in season 2, because she goes through a lot.
There was quite a bit I knew about when it came to Blanca as far as second season. We usually get, some scripts, maybe even the first or the second episode in advance, just to set us up a little bit. And seeing how much she was going to fight, seeing how much she was going to stand up and just really fight for her rights, as well as people of the LGBTQAI community, people of just melanin communities in general, people that were a part of a community that she represented, because she saw herself in all of those. It was a lot to really delve into, and I loved it. I loved the fact that she was finally finding a space for herself, because in first season we see her, almost as a child, having childlike moments where she's branching off and she's establishing herself as a mother, and she's just moving forward. And in second season, she's more solidified. Her kids are more solidified, and she just becomes such a force of nature. So we got a lot of incentive on it, and it was good because it gave us a heads up, a wonderful heads up into what was going to be leading up to a great season.
Mm-hmm. And Blanca discovers in the season premiere that she has AIDS, and as she's battling the complications that come from that, she's also, like you said, sort of standing up and becoming part of ACT UP and encouraging others to get involved. So my question is just, how do you think Blanca is able to summon that strength and that resilience, and how do you channel that into playing her through your performance?
I think for the most part, since it's placed in 1990, right about now, 1991, on the brink of those 2 years, I think in that space there was nothing but time to speak out. The AIDS epidemic was at an all-time high. It was at its peak. So many people were going and leaving in that time. It was truly mind-boggling to see so many people go. And with Blanca, knowing that there was this virus that could take her out with either in a week or she could possibly carry on, she knew that she had to either strike while the iron is hot. And when I say strike while the iron is hot, I mean she had to really stand up for what's right. If she passed away, she would know that the justice would be served and that her legacy would probably stand true, being that she fought. And what I tied in for it myself was just bringing in stories from people who I know who've had people in 1987 all the way to 1996 who had just left like that, and the pain of that, and also a lot of things that I went through. I mean, I can't attest to somebody who was or stricken at that time with HIV and AIDS, but my mother was also someone who had a friend who passed away from AIDS, and I just tried to bring as much as I could as far as the story when it came to people I know outside of me and what I knew I had to fight for as far as people in today's society. Because, I mean, let's be quite honest, the show itself, even though it's branched around our community, it's also branched around another community, which is the melanin community, the Black community. And I just had to bring every single aspect of my life tied in with the stories that I had, tied in with a lot of also individuals that I would watch on television and see and put it all together and mesh it all together, and just, I basically put my soul on the screen.
Yeah. And you could feel that as an audience member. Yeah. And I mean, working with Billy Porter, the two of you have such a fascinating dynamic where you really bounce off each other so well. Can you just talk about what makes that relationship between Blanca and Pray Tell really tick, and just what it's like working with Billy?
I think working with Billy has been nothing but one second, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I think working with Billy has been nothing but a dream. I mean, we go back all the way when I was doing Rent in 2011, my first off-Broadway debut, and he was associate director, to go into his dressing room almost all the time, chat with him, get some incentive on how I need to move in the world and how, I needed to audition. So our relationship has always been a great one, and we've always been bouncing off of each other from when I was 19. We've always been bouncing off of each other from when I was 19 until now. So it's been nothing but wonderful working with him and sharing space with him, and, just seeing him as an amazing lead actor on a show, and just like being able to be a lead actress on the show. We both share those dynamics of what an African-American gay male goes through in the ballroom scene, and what an African-American trans woman of color goes through the ballroom scene. And we both understand that he's lived through that time. I was a part of the ballroom scene, and those just tying together. And I think it makes great for, good television.
Absolutely. And you also got the distinct pleasure this season of working with Miss Patti LuPone.
Oh, yes.
I mean, come on now. Because, we have Blanca opening up the nail salon and renting from Patti LuPone's character. Can you just talk about working with her and what it was like to also explore Blanca as a business owner too?
So being able to work with Patti LuPone was just, it was wonderful. One, she is totally, obviously different from Frederica Norman completely. Which is one of the reasons why I appreciate her as an actress, because she is so good at delivering these kinds of characters. She's so versatile. And tying that in with Blanca and her being a businesswoman, I thought it was great for her to have kind of a rivalry between two strong women, two strong businesswomen who had different mindsets, but who had the angst to fight for their womanhood, because they knew that they both served a place in the world and that there were a lot of odds against them. So us sharing that space and us being able to just bounce off of each other and be able to work with each other, it was great. And we've developed a beautiful friendship. And it's so wonderful to see that happen, because not too often do you get into a space where you can actually share moments like that. A lot of people are very secluded as actors and actresses, which is rightfully so, because they deserve their space. But we just had a wonderful space in sharing it, and made it even more amazing working with her, because it just flowed. It flowed completely. So it was a joy.
And then the episode 8, which is Revelations, the moment where the house really divides and everyone is really fighting with each other, and the episode ends with Blanca at her dinner table alone. What was it like to film that kind of a tense episode?
It was heavy.
Mm-hmm.
It was very, very heavy. But it was needed, because I felt like the world needed to see what goes on, and not just in LGBTQAI plus community and family, but within families in general, especially African American families, to show that there can be extreme dynamics and climaxes, but there's always something to come back to. And even though we saw Blanca in a space where she felt alone, I even still feel that she made her space for justification in what had happened. And it sucks that it had to come to a moment where she was almost on her deathbed for everyone to come together. But it also showed it just showed the togetherness, and it showed what happens in families in general, and how we go through things as any other regular person, as any other regular family, and how we can get through it. And sometimes you have to be alone. Sometimes things have to blow up, in order for you to get an understanding of what really happened, for you to think about it. And I think in that moment when Blanca was sitting at the table, that was a moment for her, not only to see what had transpired, but for her to think about her actions as well. Because, I mean, she's not perfect. She's a human as well. So it was great. And honey, everybody loves a little bit of drama on television. So.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Well, I also just wanted to talk about the growth of Blanca's children and
Yes.
just her as a mother, because we really see them all blossom by the end of the season. And I'm just wondering if you could speak to Blanca's qualities as a mother that you think really got them to that point.
I think the most amazing quality that Blanca has shown with all of her children. Yes, she's taken them to the balls. Yes, she has incorporated education and knowledge to them. But the most important thing that I feel any mother on this earth would do with their baby is to show them love and nurturing, and let them venture the way they need to venture, and also let them venture the way they need to venture, and also let them bump their heads. And when they come to that conclusion, or when they come to that knowing of them bumping their head, that she can teach them afterwards not to do it again. Or if that's something if that's something you want to do again, know the consequences. And yes, she may have seemed hard at times to others. I didn't think that at all, but she was doing it from a loving space. She cared for these kids. She took them in when they were on what's end, when some of them were on the street, when some of them had left their houses, when some of them were already homeless. So when she says, "My house, my rules," I think she's literally saying, accept the rules in this house, which is love and understanding. Love upon anything that comes your way. Also understanding whatever decisions you make, you have to be dealt with those decisions. And know that if you do make a decision, either stand firm in it or actually think about it and see how you can fix it.
Well said. Yeah. And you also get to explore Blanca's love life in the big beach episode. It's always interesting whenever it comes to Blanca's personal life, just because, we don't always see that side from her. But right. Can you talk about just exploring that side of Blanca?
I thought it was great. I mean, I felt like there was always this angst in me for her to have some type of affection, some kind of acknowledgement that she's beautiful, no matter how she represents herself, no matter how she looks. She was just a beautiful being, and she deserved to be loved for the beautiful being that she was, aside from her being trans. And so it was great to work in that. And also I felt, and I'm sure people can attest to it, I felt the world needed to see how a melanin woman can be loved. A melanin trans woman can be loved, and the men that see her completely see her, and that there aren't always fetishes out there. There are men that truly adore the woman that they see in front of their face, no matter their journey or no matter their walk of life. And it excited me. It excited me tremendously, because she deserved it. She was somebody who deserved it. She hadn't had anyone for a long time. And I just thought it was only right for her to really, really delve into feeling for herself.
Mm-hmm. And you also have a big Whitney Houston moment in the finale where you lip sync to the iconic Star Spangled Banner Super Bowl. For my money, it was one of the moments of the season. How did you prepare for that scene? Because there's just so many layers happening there.
There are a lot of layers happening there. One, I was nervous as all hell because I knew I had to do Miss Whitney justice. I couldn't just get up there and be a girl from Newark, New Jersey and not do her right. But also, it made a huge statement. And not only was it Whitney Houston, Not only is she a Black woman singing the national anthem, not only is Blanca in a wheelchair being rolled out, and the symbolism of her standing up and being firm and knowing that she's going to fight and keep fighting for her community when it comes to the epidemic of HIV and AIDS. But it was also a signification that the LGBT community is one, the African American community is one, the people who come into that community of the ballroom scene is one, no matter the walk of life, no matter the color of your skin. I think that was the moment that solidified it all. And I have to be honest, there was no preparation for me. I honestly jumped into it and was like, okay, let's do this like how I know I feel in my spirit it should happen. There were other things that I had to like constantly make sure I delve in on my craft because I needed to present it the right way. But with this scene, I knew for me, I had to do it from the heart, and I had to pay attention to my surroundings within that space and let it really sink in on me and let the love flow in on me the way it needed to. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, looking back on where you started in season 1 and just being able to explore Blanca further through these 2 seasons, how have you changed as a performer, whether it just be like how you portray Blanca or just how you even approach other roles for other projects?
That's a good question. I think from first season to second season and even in a little bit of third season, I think the things that I've learned as far as my craft is that there's always space and time to constantly shed. And when I say shed, that's like a musical term, but shed is like go over and do repetitiveness and make sure that you constantly practice. And that's just me. And also knowing that the person who Blanca is, she's a part of me too. And that I will take with me every single character that I decide to portray. I will take a piece of me and put it into that character. I think it's important as an actor to take a piece of you and put it into that character because you have to empathize with that character in order for you guys to mesh. I mean, not you guys, but in order for the character and the person who's portraying them to mesh together so it can be delivered correctly. I think that's the biggest thing I've learned. And no, that doesn't mean that, you know, if I go to another character, you'll see Blanca. No, obviously there's a lot of work that goes into different types of people or characters or monsters or whatever we're given, we portray. But there's always a piece of you that you have to bring to the table. I think that's important and imperative as an actor or an actress.
Absolutely, for sure. Just as we wrap up here really quick, I just wanted to ask about the Emmys last year, where Pose was nominated for Best Drama Series. Billy Porter won Best Lead Actor in a Drama Series. I remember seeing you and the rest of the cast just cheering him on in the audience. Can you just briefly sort of describe that night for you and what it meant for you to be invited to the party?
When you have a seat at the table for once, it feels so good and validating. And then when you see one of your friends up there winning an award, where you've probably never seen that happen ever, African American gay Black man winning an Emmy, it made me realize how the doors are going to open for me one day, if that's possible. He opened the door. He made it possible for girls like myself. And yes, he's a gay Black man, but he's still a part of the LGBTQAI community. And he made it possible and opened doors for the girls that were rooting him on in the videos you've seen. And the crying were tears of joy because it was well deserved. Billy had been working for years and getting his just due was deserved. And with that being said, he's opened doors for not only me, but a lot of women like myself, a lot of men like him to not only achieve their dreams, but to really go get it and chase that award.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thankful for his win, and I'm thankful for him.
One of the most beautiful moments I've ever seen on the Emmys.
I was happy.
Yeah.
I was happy.
Mm-hmm.
I could cry now. You can't do this
Me
to
too.
me.
Me too. I watched it so many times. But anyway, MJ, I just want to thank you so much for talking to us today. It was truly a pleasure.
Thank you. And it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure, honestly, just talking to y'all. It's always good having a conversation with y'all.
Yes. And for those of you watching, hit like and subscribe if you like this video, and head to goldderby.com to make your Emmy predictions. Predict MJ, best lead actress in a drama series.
Ooh, that was cute.
Yeah. Thanks for watching.